Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wish We Were Then. This is a wonderful little podcast, if I do say so myself. What do we do here? Well, we go back in time and look at a year in the past and just kind of dissect the whole thing from top to bottom, saying what happened, what's going on in the news and the pop culture, on the radio, all sorts of different stuff. And, I just realized I haven't introduced myself yet. How rude. This is the first time with video, the first time you're seeing me. If we're doing that, I don't know. I might just cut that out. Marker. I can do that. Boom. There's a mark right there that says, cut this out if I don't do video later. Note to self. Look at us go. Using this stuff already. My name is Trey. I'm one of the hosts here. How about you? You want to care to introduce yourself, buddy?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm one of the hosts at the podcast Wish We Were Then. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for the year that we're doing.
Yeah, it is a cool year this year. Very, very cool. Very relevant, it feels, huh? One of those things.
I mean, super nostalgic for myself, I gotta say.
Yeah, I guess I'll say some of that in a second. But let's go ahead and jump into the year. Now, an exciting year, as you said. This is a year that I think the biggest thing about this thing is it's fun looking at it because everything going on was it stayed relevant. It was all very interesting. It was a very, very cool, impactful, interesting year in terms of pop culture, the media that came out, the events that were taking place, a lot of good news stories, a lot of positive stuff going on. The U.S. and Russia and different people, O.J. Simpson, people who make headlines for different things that are usually not great. Those people were still doing that stuff back then. But other than that, all the other stuff was looking pretty nice, pretty sunny side up on the egg sandwich of life. But like I said, there's some negativity going on, a lot of sports negativity happening. We'll get into all of that. But the year that we're getting into this year is very near and dear to my birth certificate. It's only 2 years off of the number that's on there. This is 1994. Excited?
I'm super excited about this year. A lot of cool stuff came out. A lot of stuff that was revolutionary for the next 20, 30 years to come, easily.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that still is, like I said, super relevant today. From nostalgia purposes, people love to look back, usually 30 years. We talk a lot about how when we were kids, it seemed like the 60s and the early 70s were still constantly referenced in media and on movies and cartoons and stuff like that. You watch the Rugrats and there'd be references to the Vietnam War.
Yep.
But
now it's that way with the cartoons that are coming out now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all of this stuff really feels like, it's just been stuff that we've deemed important to remember, I guess, as a culture. And this year is very heavy with it. I think sometimes you look back and you'll see a lot of times a year feels kind of sparse, or it's sort of like you really are kind of struggling to come up with shit to talk about. And this is gonna be one of those years that I'm like, I have to remember to leave a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor of my notes, come back to it next time we get around to it, because there's just too much to get over. I don't want to just list off a bunch of bullet points. I want to give these things the attention they deserve.
All right. Well, I want to start it off with something that is definitely still relevant in today's everyday society. The FDA approved the first genetically modified food in California's company called Caligan. Developed in the 1980s, it was a tomato was the first GMO food. It had improved shelf life, increased fungal resistance, and slightly increased viscosity.
Yeah, it's called the Flavor Saver. That's the name of this tomato. It's FLAVR SAVR. It was funny because it had like the missing letters that felt very, like how apps and stuff are named later on in life, I guess. But Flavor Saver tomato. Specifically, it was engineered to reduce the production of a certain enzyme involved in pectin breakdown and fruit softening. So that enzyme the fruit naturally has, this said no more of that, squashed that, and thus no more squashed tomatoes.
No, they still have those too, though.
That was the big thing. That was like, people were like, this is bullshit. How are we supposed to tell opera singers that we think they suck? These tomatoes just bounce off their heads. They don't go splat. They're not funny anymore. I think that's pretty crazy, though, that, first genetically engineered food product, and now we're so concerned with health, aren't we?
Now everything is genetically modified.
This started off a trend, I would say. Um, a lot of sort of trendy news stories that, like I said, are still being talked about. Two that I just want to kind of mention because they're very relevant to what's going on in today's news cycles. I don't want to get too deep into them. We're just here to have fun. So we're just going to talk about these real briefly. January 10th, to start off the year, Ukraine announced that it will give up the world's third biggest nuclear arsenal. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine had received over 1,800 warheads and 175 long-range missiles. After 2 years of talks between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States, the country agreed to get rid of all nuclear weapons if Russia would respect its sovereignty. So a lot of the stuff that leads forward to what's going on today, the fact that they don't have any weapons, they got rid of them based on this January 10th, 1994, setting the stage for stuff that happens later on in the life of the news cycle. Like I said, it's just all very, the people that were making news today were making news back then. This is like kind of the groundwork for it,
The North American Trade Agreement between the USA, Mexico, and Canada, proposed by the Ronald Reagan administration, but actually ratified by Bill Clinton in 1994. So
All right.
I mean, that's something that's being altered now too.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
directly tied to the politics that we have going on this very day.
Exactly. One more thing is Israel signs accord with Palestine May 4th and a peace treaty with Jordan on October 17th. So, hey, like I said before, some of this stuff is positive. There's a lot of peace going around in the world. However long that lasts, who knows? Yeah, and even the first one, Ukraine gets rid of its their weapons. Israel signs a accord with Palestine and with Jordan. That's cool. And the IRA declares a ceasefire in Northern Ireland on August 31st. And the Ulster Protestants declare a ceasefire October 13th. So there's some more wars kind of coming. It's a peaceful time. They said, you know what? There's some fucking cool stuff on the radio right now. Let's not fight. Let's give it a couple of years. I want to see them. I want to see these cool movies that are in the theaters. So everybody, except for the U.S., who send forces to the Persian Gulf on October 7th, and Russians attack the secessionist Republic of Chechnya on December 11th. So U.S., Russia, those people love war. They're already at war. Other people. But everyone else in the world's calming down. Those are it for my big news stories. Like I said, I just want to breeze through those because of the fact that it's like, I don't want to get too big into all it's so much bummer stuff anyway. The point of this is to go look back at what was happening. That was fun. But,
Well, this is what was happening when people would turn on the news every day. This is
exactly. It's
what was
important to
happening.
learn. It's important to learn, folks.
I mean, there's other big events. Did you do any research on the OJ case?
I didn't do a bunch of research on the case itself. I mean, there's so much to talk about with this.
Neither did I. I didn't. To be honest,
I don't know how much we.
I didn't look up anything about it.
I was gonna say I don't really know how much we talked about it before. But on June 18th, OJ was arrested for the killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. And I mean, there's like with big cases like this, it's really hard to figure out what to research because it's like the crime was committed in this year. This is when this happened. This is when the trial is going on. So there's going to be something to come up with it all the time.
Well, because we've done what was it 97 when he was or something
Convicted,
like that?
yeah, something.
Yeah, 95.
96 maybe. I don't know. But the big thing about this was that this is when the chase happened.
Yeah.
So that's why I felt like this was important, at least a little bit. Like, I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, 95 million people watched a slow speed chase.
It's so lame.
He's going pretty slowly in a white Ford Bronco. I mean, this dude, his murder was so big and important to the world that Ford was like, we can't keep making that fucking car. They just stopped making the Bronco for years. It finally came back recently, but the new ones look pretty cool. Have you seen it?
I don't like them personally. I know everybody does. I'm not.
Hot take. Ooh, I'm gonna mark this. Marking this one. Ooh, hot take. We might clip that for social media. I think they look pretty cool. But yeah, man, there were a lot of pizza places and stuff like that like everybody, they were all like super out of business or not out of business. They were just like out of pizza. They couldn't keep up with demand. There were so many people who were ordering to watch the chase on the news and stuff as it happened. Like, it was a huge deal for people.
Are you serious? I didn't read that.
Yeah, 95 million people were watching it. That's like,
holy shit.
It was pretty cool. I mean, it is funny if you watch any kind of like interviews with people as they talk about just how, I mean, this guy was a sports star and a freaking comedy legend from the Naked Gun movie.
Definitely a household name even before
Oh, for
this.
sure. Yeah.
All right, I got a couple of bummer things before we move on.
Okay.
Got deaths of the people of that happened this year, and these are just some of the big ones. I'm sure there's others, but Jack Kirby dies. He is
Uh,
the comic book writer. He created Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, the Fantastic Four, Thor, Iron Man, the original X-Men, Black Panther, Inhumans, Doctor Doom, and a bunch more too. The Eternals, other stuff like that.
who else you got on that death list of yours?
Bill Hicks, comedy
Oh,
legend. He was like
mm-hmm.
30. He was 32. John Candy,
Damn.
Kurt
Also a young
Cobain,
man. Kurt Cobain. Yeah, I know. I had
and
that one written down.
and Richard Nixon.
Every time it's obligatory. Those are some big deaths that like really all. I mean, you talk about how everything from the pop culture this year carries over and stuff like those. Those were things that were being referenced for many years. Kurt Cobain specifically felt like it was so important to very many people for a very long time. There were all these conspiracies about his death.
Yeah. I
Whether
mean,
or not
Bill
it was,
Hicks was huge. He had like HBO specials and stuff like that too.
yeah, Bill Hicks. I think I don't. I never really. I'm for as into stand up as I was when I was younger and stuff. I never really watched much Bill Hicks. I watched a little bit of him. I think it was
Well,
just
I don't know
too before my time.
what how his comedy holds weight now. You know, it's kind of hard to watch old comedy because some of it's about like political stuff that's happening and like
I got a couple of sports specific stories. I know we had
okay.
the OJ thing earlier. That's sort of sports related. There was also on January 6th, there was the Nancy Kerrigan attack. From Tanya Harding.
Yep.
Have you seen the movie I, Tanya?
I saw the trailers for it. I never watched
Yeah,
it.
it was all right. I mean, it was. That's where I got most of my knowledge about this I, Tanya case. That's what I call it, the I, Tanya case. Tanya Harding, Jeff Galooly, I believe the guy's name is. I didn't really look that much up to like refresh this one. It was such a big, huge news story that was another thing that was referenced for years of people,
I
making
wrote down
jokes
like
about it.
I wrote down like the basics of it. Nancy Kerrigan was clubbed on the back of the knee by an assailant, Shane Stant, who was hired by Jeff Galooly, who was the
Nice.
ex-husband of Tanya Harding, Kerrigan's main skating competitor. They would face off in the 1994 Olympics, and Nancy Kerrigan would win a silver medal. 2 months later, Harding would plead guilty to conspiracy. She got 3 years probation, was fined $100,000 and 500 hours of community service. Also banned from all other figure skating association events.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of it was pretty crazy, just she basically had her main competition incapacitated, lead pipe to the leg, messed up her career, everybody's careers in the process. And Jeff Galooly, what a pig. Just kidding. It reminds me, man, it's like so funny. I really like Paul Walter Hauser. Now I can finally remember his name, but for years I would just be like, Jeff Galooly.
Speaking of the Olympics was held in Norway this year. It was the first time Russia was not the Soviet Union in the Olympics.
Oh, that's big news. Yeah, I mean, that was,
Because it was in, what, 92 when it collapsed?
okay. Yeah,
So,
it wasn't 94, but it was it was still, the
yeah.
repercussions were being felt, the shock waves. And the MLB strike over the salary cap disputes. That was a big thing. Lasted 232 days. It's the longest in
Okay.
MLB history and professional sports at the time. So this was a humongous strike. There was no postseason and no World Series for the first time in 90 years. No World
Damn.
Series. Yeah, that's nuts, right? Longest strike
Yeah.
ever for the MLB. No World Series. This was serious business. The players were pissed off at the owners for the salary caps.
Yeah. Well, every other sport has salary caps.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that has to. At a certain point, it's like, yeah, this has to come into play. You can't just have the team with the most money have the best team. The New York Bankies.
Michael Jordan, speaking of baseball, started playing in the minor leagues
Oh,
for the Birmingham Barons. He went over 3 in his first at bat. He was not a good baseball player.
That's funny how it just doesn't translate to that, you know?
Well, hitting a fastball is like one of the hardest things to do in sports.
You're like, you'd think you'd at least be. I mean, not that I guess it would translate at all. There's nothing about it that does translate. You just think, I guess this guy's like a freak athlete. I'm like, no, he's just really good at that one thing.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you just do that.
I've never seen him bowl, I guess.
If you do, Mookie Betts is a really good bowler.
Yeah, just like some people.
Yeah. Anyway, getting off topic a little bit.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have for sports stuff, I guess. As you can tell, personal sports knowledge.
I got George Foreman came the oldest boxing heavyweight champion, defeating Michael Moorer.
Oh, that's cool.
In a 10-round knockout.
That's good. And you know what? That also brings me over to the next topic that I wanted to talk about in the first place. You know, different inventions and pieces of technology and stuff like that. We have the George Foreman grill debuted in 1994.
Oh yeah, he was on top of his game in this time.
Yeah, dude, he was all over your television set in 1994. But George Foreman grills, if you're not aware of what these are, take a look at them online because they were very, very culturally important for a number of years. Like
Yeah, but they're the worst.
I know. I've never like actually used them. I've just seen videos of them. They look terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big thing was that it
worst.
drains the fat is what it was supposed to have done. Like you grill something on it and there's like the front end of it is built at a slant and you're just supposed to like tip it over and I guess you're not supposed to tip it. It's supposed to happen naturally. All the fat that you're cooking is just supposed to drip out and it was essentially supposed to be healthier than not having all that shit be cooking all over your burger, I guess.
He made a bunch of money from it though.
Yeah. Used his celebrity and his.
Well, apparently he had gone like broke, and which is why he even started boxing again in the first place.
Yeah. There's a lot of he seems like he's maybe not the coolest guy in the world.
I've never met him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to talk too bad about him. What if he's great? Okay. Some other inventions, or what do you got?
I was going to do another invention. The PlayStation was released on December 3rd in Japan.
Yeah, they had the Sega Saturn in November 22nd in Japan. A big year for Japan and gaming and all the stuff that would make its way over to the U.S. shortly hereafter. But I mean, especially the PlayStation, dude. That's like a giant landmark in the history of gaming.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't realize how old it was, I guess, but coming out in Japan makes more sense because it probably didn't come out until at least the following year. It came out on December 3rd. I mean, unless it came out within that next month in America.
Yeah, you know what really shocked me was I didn't realize that the PlayStation came out before the Nintendo 64. Like, I had memories of a Nintendo 64 coming out, but I just, and it's like the PlayStation, I was only 2 years old, so I would never remember this. And it was sort of something that just had always been around. But yeah, the N64 came out in 96, and I didn't realize it was so much earlier for the PlayStation. You think that the technology of the disc seems so much more futuristic than the cartridges, you know?
Yeah.
Also, in November of 1994, didn't have a specific date, the Sega Pico hit shelves in the United States. It's a really cool piece of technology that is like trying to find a decent image to show you here. At least just get a picture of it up. All right. Here is the Sega Pico. I'm just going to take it from the top here. Okay. The Sega Pico came out in November 1994. They didn't have a specific year for it. This came out in the U.S. this year. I think it debuted in Japan earlier than this. I had one of these growing up, but it's not something that anybody ever really talks about, and I never see referenced. And it was like a Nintendo DS kind of. Like, you use this pen here. I got a picture of it up. You can check this out online. Use the pen part on the lower part, and then you plug this into your TV, and then it would happen up on the screen. There would be whatever was on the page. So it's like, I remember I had a Richard Scarry. If you ever played Busy Town, the books or the TV show, and there was like, here's the Richard Scarry one, and just a little bit of what it looked like. So you would be touching something on the screen or on the little pad, and then it'd be happening up on the screen.
Oh, I remember that. I remember the show.
The characters, yeah.
The characters, yeah.
So in this one, I remember this. I just clicked to a random part of it. So you would turn the page on the lower book, and then it would change what level you were on or whatever. So it's like this was the paint level. So if you flipped over to it or whatever, then you would mix paint in that part of that thing. And so you click on different stuff and stuff on the screen would change. It's really mind blowing. It's kind of hard to describe, but check out the Sega Pico, ladies and gentlemen, because they are pretty cool. All right.
Dang, that was like nostalgic as fuck, and I don't even have one of those things.
Yeah, really a shocking piece of technology to just kind of disappeared and fly under the radar. I think they lasted for a long time in Japan and like eventually morphed into a different type of thing that I think is still ongoing, but just didn't last over here. But there were a bunch of cool toys that came out that year that were very technology based and stuff. Another one that I had looked up was the Tiger barcodes, and I kind of remembered seeing commercials for this too. That there was like a little barcode scanner or whatever, and you'd buy a pack of cards and scan them in, and your guy would do different stuff based on like what you scanned in. So there was like a lot of kind of cutting edge technology. It feels like, stuff that seems really advanced for the time. Like they were just throwing in technology to like toys and things like that constantly, and not a lot of it stuck. But some of it seems like it was pretty cool and useful actually.
Yeah, they probably took components and just added on to other consoles and stuff later. Like you said, the NES or all the like handheld stuff probably came from things like that.
All right, you know what I got? I only have I just want to go through these food stuff. But so if you got, and then that'll be it for me from any kind of news things. I'm ready to wrap it up. So if you got any other stories you want to do before I do that.
No, I think we touched on all of the big things that I wanted to hit.
Okay, so here's a couple of food inventions first off, and then some fast food restaurants that were established. So these are all kind of interesting. Aquafina came out in 1994, the bottled water. Danimals with the little animal mascot for the yogurt. Those came out. Dubliner cheese. I enjoy that. The Irish cheese at the store. Reese's Puffs. Remember those old commercials? Reese's Puffs. Reese's Puffs. Fruitopia. I remember that. It's like a fruity drink. Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bar. Nutrageous and Winter Fresh gum.
Dang,
There was
Hershey's
not a Winter
cookies and
Fresh
cream.
before. Yeah, I love those. Those are a lot. They're pretty divisive. I kind of feel like that's a really hated candy. I think most people don't like them.
I like them. I don't
Yeah,
think
me
a lot
too.
of people like white chocolate though. Is what it is.
I also am not a huge white chocolate fan. I think it's just the way that the cookies and the white chocolate go together very well.
I like
And it's
white
like the crunch of
chocolate
it.
stuff, like white chocolate macadamia cookies. Fuck me up.
Gross. White chocolate's disgusting, except for in that one bar. I'm just kidding. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do like it there. Fast food restaurants established. Famous Dave's, Firehouse Subs, Wetzel's Pretzels, Wingstop, and Rainforest Cafe, all established.
Dang, Wetzel's pretzels.
Yeah, all right. I mean, that's a
feel like
mall
that was-
staple, very mall
I like that was
timey thing.
older.
I would have guessed it
and
was from
then,
the 60s or something.
Well, and I feel like there was rainforest cafes like everywhere by the time we were like 8 or 9 years old. You know what I mean? Like it only took
that
like
was a...
less than 10 years to like pop, and then they just didn't fade it out.
Yeah, I think that was a huge, firework of a business. Exploded everywhere. There were so many of them all over the place, and then they just faded out.
Yeah.
No more of them anymore. Something that did end up booming and keeping on and just growing and growing. This was an interesting little... I read an article about craft breweries and stuff back then, and there were 537 craft breweries. I hate that word. There were 537 craft beer makers in the United States in 1994. As of 2023, there were 9,761. So over 9,200 more craft beer makers
Holy crap.
over that 30-year period.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
industry exploded. I wonder how many of those I've tried. Probably just the original five.
Probably like 9,000 of them.
Oh, man, we have much different numbers. That's it for the fast food and other types of food debuts, but some other type of debuts we can get into and start getting into some media stuff here.
Yep.
On television, two big-time debuts that I felt were worth noting were the television shows ER and Friends. Both had their first episodes in 1994.
Yeah, those are the two big ones that I found too. The Tick. Did you see that one came out in 94?
Oh, I didn't. I just kind of stopped at these two. I love The Tick. It's a really cool show. Was it the
Yeah.
cartoon or the live action?
The cartoon.
They're both good. Check them both out. They're both definitely worth watching. I haven't even read that much of the comic book. I just really enjoy that character from all of the cartoon and everything.
Yeah, I just watched a cartoon as a kid.
It's fun too. It's I mean it was way that's another thing that was way ahead of its time. It's just like very much predicated the boys and all these sort of television shows that examine the idea of being a superhero, subversively, all that kind of stuff. But it's like a silly version of it. It's like they have a Justice League, but I can't remember if in the cartoon, I don't think his name is, but it's Batman Well is one of the characters in the live action show. It's like he's like Mexican Batman, but his name is Batman Well.
I remember
It's
that.
yeah, it's a really good, it's a cool show. It's funny. And Friends, man, that show was there's kind of a backlash to it now, right? Like people are like, oh, it show's really not funny.
What?
To Friends,
Oh yeah, I never liked that show. A lot of people really did.
I loved it, man. It was one my family had every one of the seasons on the DVDs, and it was like constantly playing. It was one of those shows that was just always playing in my house. And like,
Sister Sister came out that year.
oh, Sister's a good one. I used to love that show. The Maori sisters, and they had a little brother too who was on Smart Guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, oh yeah, I remember
Very, very
that.
talented family. They were all over TV for a long time, and every once in a while they'll pop up in something, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, it's one of the Maoris." But yeah, they were freaking everywhere back then. This
Yeah,
is
they were for sure.
when they were all pretty little. He was probably still on Full House at the time. I think he played
Was
like
he
a
on Full
neighbor.
House?
Yeah, he played like a neighbor kid sometimes. He would pop up in episodes.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played one of Mary Kate and Ashley's little friends.
Fox NFL Sunday came out this year.
Oh,
Because
so
they didn't
it's
have
like
that like program prior.
I
to
guess
this.
I don't know if Fox had any of the football playing on their network yet.
Yeah, they probably signed contracts for it. All that, all that came out this year.
All that's super culturally relevant. Have you seen any of the sort of documentaries about all the stuff that happened in Nickelodeon, all the dark side of the Nickelodeon stuff?
Yeah, and I listened to like a good amount of this Drake Bell, like podcast that he did with Josh Peck.
Oh, really? I didn't listen to anything from it or anything. I hated the show Drake and Josh.
Well, it
was not for me.
came across on like Instagram.
I watched the whole Quiet on the Set documentary that was about like the Dan Schneider years and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff spoken about all that specifically, which thankfully was kind of one that it was a precursor to a lot of stuff. So there's nothing really too explicit about all that. Didn't really have to taint my beloved show from my childhood. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely some stuff that was like, was this problematic? People didn't know for sure.
Yeah,
But if there was some unsavory stuff, but it wasn't like some of the other stuff on the documentary that was like, yeah, this was a bad culture altogether.
yeah.
But it's a fun show. They rebooted it at one point, a couple times. I feel like.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a really cool idea, man. It's like really, it's neat to have kids on a sketch show. Like that's fucking cool,
Yeah.
And like a lot of the kids too are really funny.
And they're still doing stuff.
Yeah, a lot of
Because
them, Kenan and
because
Kel.
they were talented. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenan and Kel came from all that. Amanda Bynes, obviously, she didn't do too great afterwards. She's always still popping up in the news and stuff. But it did lead to a lot of. I think Nick Cannon's first big stuff wasn't all that, so he's a weirdo. But there's, man, yeah, I guess it's a troubling thing, the child actor machine.
Yeah. It can really mentally mess you up as a kid.
Yeah,
Expecting to be something that you're not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
kind of have to be a little. You kind of be a little crazy to be an actor in general.
It's hard too because I just think you have the image of being like, I don't want to be a parent being like squashing dreams, but also it's like, yeah, we know a lot about that world now. That's not just like, oh, I worry about you. It's like, no, this could go really nasty and bad.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just not good for like your mental health to be like, because those little girls
That's what I
start
mean,
as
yeah.
the pageants and like dressing them up and putting them in makeup and putting tiaras on them, and it's like it's just not a good, in my worldview, not a good precedent to set for your daughter. Like you shouldn't be expected to do all of these things all the time and to turn out for people so they can judge you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause
for sure.
That's just not something I want.
It's not good for your
her.
self-esteem. Yeah.
No,
I
she's
think,
gonna go
like,
and do the jujitsu, and I'm not gonna.
that's a good idea. That is really, I always wish I'd like done boxing as a little kid. Just been known, not a little kid, but you know what I mean. Like that's something I grew up knowing something like that, a hand-to-hand sport. You know,
Yeah,
it's good for your health as well.
for sure. All right, you want to get into some musica?
Let's do it. Let's get on out of the television world. Man, this year's more problematic than I had anticipated.
All right.
All right, let's jump into the world of music now. We are going to look at the top 5 tracks on the Billboard charts for the year 1994. That's how we do things around here. We're going to start from number 5 and work our way up to number 1. So, number 5 on the charts was the song Hero by Mariah Carey. Came out October 18th of 1993 and spent 4 weeks at the top. It was the second single off of her third album, Music Box. Man, Mariah Carey, she's a real 90s staple, man.
Oh yeah.
And the sound of her stuff, like, it's so iconically of the era, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have much
I
connection
I
to
did.
her?
I don't. I mean, besides Christmas, I don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
These like albums that you came out with, I recognize a lot of the songs from them. To be honest, not so much this one.
I always feel the same way about music in this vein of all the time. Like, I think as a kid, I heard this stuff and it just was so in one ear out the other because it was not something I cared to hear. Love songs and things like that, or all these ballads. There's not that many like super diva-driven ballads anymore.
Yeah, it's
It
true.
wasn't- and like all that stuff of the time, which it's gonna pop up again in a second. I'll say basically the same thing, and on the next thing. But
Which is "The Power of Love" by Celine Dion on "The Color of My Love." It was originally released by Jennifer Rush in 1984, so 10 years prior. I listened to that version, and I didn't hear much of a difference, but everybody really liked Celine Dion's version a lot more. And I thought that was interesting because I didn't hear a whole lot of difference besides, like, they even said it in the article that I read that they really liked her pronunciation of the words versus Rush.
that's interesting. I wonder if that was just like extra praise for Celine Dion because this was her third English language album. So she was already a big star, but she sang in French prior to this. She had been doing it for a while, but maybe that was something that still at this point in her career, people were praising her for her ability to sing in English well. And so it's
Yeah.
like, well, she pronounces these words so great. So it just like bled over into being like, yeah, the thing we value the most about this version is the pronunciation. I don't know. The thing that I found insanely interesting, I'm going to read you some info here. This was just like one of these weird, every once in a while when I'm researching songs, I'll get into a weird rabbit hole of information and I'm like, what is happening here? And the whole piece of info is much more interesting as a whole than what it's saying about the song in particular. Let me give you a little info of this here. The Siren Kings, members of a New Zealand street subculture devoted to the volume and clarity of music via public address system loudspeakers. So that's a lot to digest already. Let me break that down a little bit before I get it. These Siren Kings value this Celine Dion version of the song as the perfect song for their chosen medium of listening to songs over public address loudspeakers in New Zealand. There's this whole subculture apparently, and these guys are called the Siren Kings. Like they're like some kind of, they're not just like people doing this. It's such a strange, I started getting a little bit more into it. Siren King Perp C stated that this will smash anyone in a battle. That song is dangerous. It's an old favorite from when sirens first started. So this has like some kind of weird, almost hip-hop feeling, battling each other, picking songs to play over public address loudspeakers to see which sounds the best. And Celine Dion's version of this song is a favorite for these guys.
It's like a cheat code. It's like, hey, you can't use that.
Yeah, I was
Tops
just like,
all others.
like, okay, well that's good for her, but I just was like, who are these dudes who are running around New Zealand like covertly guerrilla style playing songs off of loudspeakers?
You think they're still doing it?
I don't know. I guess it kind of brings to mind some cool, like in the 90s, a bunch of dudes like wearing backpacks and stuff and like, running
Well,
through buildings and just being like, hey, look out,
like
brother! Like I got the door. You go in there and you put that record on there, and then they just and then everyone's like, what the fuck is that? Celine
just like
Dion over the loudspeakers.
sneak into radio studios and stuff like that. What the heck? How
Yeah, I
do
mean it's got
they?
well, it's like I think it's got to
How do
be
they
they sneak into
access?
like it must be from like an old thing from the war or something. Would be my guess, like the blaring sirens and stuff, and they get up and find out where those things are broadcast from, and then put on a record and make everyone in the town listen to Celine Dion for the afternoon. You know?
Weird.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I really gotta. I mean, you do so much research that I was like, I can't get into the Siren Kings right now and figure out who these guys are, let alone who they battle.
Yeah,
It's like there's a whole. They're just one of these people.
there's a
I know
whole
one
network
guy.
of them.
I need to look more into King Perp C or no, he's a Siren King. His name is Perp C I apostrophe I C E C I. I don't know.
There's a lot going on just in
I
the
know.
name.
I got really lost. Yeah, exactly. Everything about this is just so in depth that it's like I can't keep going down this route. I just kept writing more stuff down. I was like, this is just raising so many more questions than it's answering, so I had to stop. But anyone out there who wants to get into a battle, hit me up. I'm getting. I think
We're
give me
get-
a month and I'll know how to do this stuff well.
We're getting the Siren Boys back together.
All right, number 3. Let's move on. Number 3 is "I'll Make Love to You" by Boys to Men from July 26th of 1994. Spent 14 weeks atop the chart, tying a then record held by "I Will Always Love You," the Whitney Houston song. Written by Babyface, was the lead single off their second album. I was really surprised that this song wasn't higher up, to be honest. I thought this would be anytime Boys to Men's if they're like TLC, if they're showing up, they're going to be super high on the list no matter what. And I really thought they'd be number one because this song is so popular.
I gotta say, I thought it was too. I hardly recognize the other two songs that are on this list.
The last two?
In
I mean, in
comparison,
comparison, maybe. I mean, they definitely were shocking that they beat this one. I would have. I mean, if those were 3 and 2, and this was number 1, it would have made perfect sense to me. This one did go on to win the Grammy for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, and was nominated for Record of the Year. So I mean, it did do critically well. People liked it. 4 out of 7 reviewers on Wikipedia that I looked at used the phrase "silky" when describing it. I just kept seeing "silky" when I went down the page
what the
over and over and over again. I was like, I guess I got to write down that over half of the reviewers called it "silky."
sounds like bots all
Yeah, but
writing
these were
the
all-
same thing.
I know, right? It was weird. Yeah, it was like the silky smooth harmonies, and it would just be they'd write 3 sentences and then silky made it. I was like, come on, you guys, can't all be using the same words. A lot of people also did though kind of call it a sort of are they just trying to recreate lightning in a bottle that they had with End of the Road. And really, when I listened to both songs back to back, to be like, oh, I guess I never noticed that, and they are almost the same song. So I do see why people were maybe like, all right, you guys, we get it. You know how to write that song. Let's do something different.
Yeah.
And they do have different songs, but this one does seem very similar. So maybe that's why it wasn't number 1. Let's get on to number 2, though.
All right, it's "I Swear" by All for One, and on their All for One album, written by Gary Baker and Frank J. Myers. They wrote it, and they couldn't get anybody to want to do the song. I think it was like in '88 or something like that they wrote it. And
Oh, I didn't realize it was that long, Toby, before they got somebody to do it.
John Michael Montgomery recorded it in 1993 as like a country version.
Yeah, I listened to that version of it, and it was weird that it was like, oh, works equally as well as a country song.
And they wanted a poppier version, and they wanted Montgomery to do it, but they said that the country fans would be upset with him for doing it, so they gave it to these guys.
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting trajectory for it. I mean, it sounds like it's it's in the style of the 90s boy groups like that, Boys to Men style sort of song, all the harmonies and everything. It's not as good as Boys to Men, I would say, as far as their vocal performance is. But yeah, it does. People go listen to the John Michael Montgomery version. Came out in 1993. That one really, like I said, it's like, oh yeah, this is almost the exact same thing. It feels the same. It's just somehow it works well both ways. This was number 98 on Billboard's all-time top 100 songs. Now, seen before in the past, Billboard comes out with a lot of these different types of lists, so that doesn't mean that's what Billboard just thinks that's this one is, or if it did the 98th best out of all the lists ever. I don't know. They're so hard to track down. I mean, they're a magazine, so they just post a lot of lists. But one time or other, this was called number 98 on that list. And a lot of critics said this one was this year's End of the Road. Like, they thought this is the song that was what Boyz II Men did last year is being replicated but by a different band. Perhaps better than what Boyz II Men did, and at least the chart performance will tell you that. But only by one. But let's get on to the last one on the list. All right, number one we're getting to here is The Sign by Ace of Base. Came out November 1st of 1993. Topped the charts for 6 non-consecutive weeks. Thought that was kind of interesting. It goes to number one, leaves, comes back. Ace of Base, they were so huge at the time. They also held the number 9 and 10 spots on the Billboard top songs for the end of the year. So they were, a song dominating the airwaves. I had no idea this would be number one. And the other ones I didn't know would be so high up either, It's one of those weird things where I feel like it's sort of a novelty song, but I guess not, since they did so well with all their stuff. They just were a band that people liked. That Swedish pop sound of music now feels so dated and silly and weird, but I guess back at the time it was taken seriously, huh?
Yeah, it was, for sure. To know that this was number one. Like I said before, I thought that Boyz II Men song would have done more, because I feel like I heard those songs all the time, everywhere. Especially at the time in movies, like in the pop culture that was happening,
I feel like this song was that prevalent as well. It was everywhere. In my recollection of things, I definitely was like, this is one of those things that, I mean, it makes sense to me. But so often when you see a song that's sort of, like I said, a novelty sort of feeling like this, you'll see it hit the top 5, but not usually number one. And so when you do, it's a little bit shocking. But remember how I talked about Billboard having so many lists before? Well, this ranked number 60 on the Billboard Hot 100 all-time top songs for the first 55 years of the charts. It was number 65 on their 2018 all-time top 100 songs, and it was number 223 on their 500 best pop songs of all time list from 2023.
These lists, the more you talk about them, they just mean nothing to me now.
I would have stopped even bringing them up. I'm just going to say Billboard mentioned this a couple times on some of their stupid lists. That's what I'll say.
I think you should keep talking about it so people know how insignificant all of these lists really are.
Yeah, you got to take Billboard to task. They're going to be like, oh, we got to come out with one list at the end of the year. I mean, that's, I guess, what the charts are. But still, it's like, come on, man.
We're going to get sued at Billboard.
All right, so if you don't take what they say to be worth a freaking piss in a leaky bucket, then number 42 on Rolling Stone's 50 best songs of the 90s. That's a more definitive thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
see, at least you're doing like 10 years generationally. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
I mean?
only 50 songs. It's a decade. We're figuring this out. It's a definitive list. Like, it's got ends to it. It's got parameters. It's not just a fucking number random thing. The first 55 years of the charts, like, come on, man. Why are we qualifying everything so much? This is just the best pop songs of the 90s. I don't think Rolling Stone, really, their lists are usually that great. But also nominated for a Grammy for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, which I think we heard earlier. Or maybe that was R&B. In 2009, Katy Perry said this song and the Cardigans' Love Fool from 1996 were inspirations for her music. So, kind of influences. She was humongous for a very long time, and she shaped a lot of pop music in her day as well with her stuff. And so she was directly influenced by Ace of Base.
So that makes sense, the time frame,
Yeah, yeah. And Billboard said it led pop into a new era, putting Sweden on the map as a credible hit-making hub, pushing electronic production closer to the forefront of popular music, and helping ignite a collaborative approach to songwriting that has become an industry standard. So just, it was, culturally, it was pretty significant, led to a lot of changes in the way things were. And Sweden was like a super huge like that was where everyone got their pop music for a very long time. So, and whether or not you like Katy Perry anymore with her weird stuff she's going on to now, like I said, she was very influential with so many things. So, this song, whether it's that great, I don't know, but it was significant, way more than I anticipated going into this. That's it for the top 5. Right. There's a lot of other music that comes out that year, though. We have a list with a bunch of stuff on it. You want to check it out. on Spotify here. Yeah, it's 5 hours 11 minutes. I got some stuff on there from the charts that was in the top 100 by the end of the year, and then also just some other stuff that was released that I think is pretty cool when you get down towards the bottom of it. Like The Offspring had their big album Smash. I've seen them perform that front to back live.
Oh yeah, that was one of the best times I've ever seen. Probably the best time I've ever seen The Offspring.
I know we used to see them all the time back in the day.
Summer Nationals in like 2013 or something like that.
Man, I mean, we used to see so many concerts. I haven't been to a punk show in forever. Other punk music. No Effects came out with Punk and Drublick. You have some great hip hop music. Gravediggers came out. Commons, I used to love her back when he was still called Common Sense. You got some Gangstar. Also, a lot of cool sort of indie stuff, man. There's like Superchunk. I like them a lot. Hole, they were really popular. Courtney Love's girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain's
I know who you're talking
girlfriend.
about.
So Selena, I thought that was very important. One of her big albums came out that year before
Nick
she was
Cave
taken
and
too
the
soon.
Bad Seeds, probably like one of the most used songs in movies ever. That-
Yeah. It's so funny. I mean, even though I don't even know if I've seen that movie front to back, I just think of Dumb and Dumber
Oh
because
yeah.
it's used in that movie pretty prominently. So yeah, a lot of really cool stuff that I feel like shaped music moving forward, and it's like super identifiable from this year.
I mean, just a lot of Beck, Meatloaf, the
Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Transplants. Yeah, Biggie, Coolio, Elton John, Salt and Pepper, Janet Jackson, R. Kelly. Ugh.
Oh, Insane Clown Posse. They had a big one this year that came
Yeah.
out. Also, Vanilla Ice was trying to follow up his success from Ice Ice Baby. So this was like his second album that came out. An interesting one, I thought, Mila Jovovich. I didn't realize she made music, and I listened to it. It's actually pretty good. She's the girl from, what is she in, Resident Evil or Underworld? No. Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, yeah.
Yeah. I just knew she was an actress. I didn't know she
Selena
did
coming
music.
out with music this year. Sublime. So many good songs and bands.
Yeah, I mean, this is also like now it just seems like the playlist at a cool bar by the beach now. Like that's what our classic rock and everything is nowadays, is from this
Weezer.
era. Yeah, Weezer, that's a huge one. I mean, they were gigantic for a really long time, man.
I would still go see Weezer.
Yeah, for sure. That's about it for music, I would say. Alrighty, we turn our attention away from the music industry over to the film industry, another one of our big industries in the world of pop culture stuff. So let's look at the number one movie at the box office in the United States from the year 1994. That is how we judge what we're going to watch for the week. This week, it is the Disney movie, came out June 24 of 1994. It is called The Lion King. Actually, I have a little synopsis here. I thought I might as well write down something, one of those things that you think you know what it'll be described as. Well, here, let's see. Lion Prince Simba and his father are targeted by his bitter uncle who wants to ascend the throne himself. I like that description. It doesn't give any spoilers away,
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it's about.
Yeah, you don't have to hear the one thing that everyone knows about it, that Mufasa dies.
Such a good movie. Such a good intro to it. Like
The opening scene. Yeah.
the opening scene, the opening song, and then the way it ends where it's like doof, and it says The Lion King. I remember being a kid and watching that and being like, whoa. It was like,
Yeah, this is definitely one. I remember seeing it in theaters. Obviously not at the time when I was, just about to hit 2 years old, but they would re-show it in theaters periodically.
yeah.
And I remember seeing it in theaters, and man, it was it is a really great movie to watch. Like the sound design and just the sweepingness of a lot of the animation. It's so beautifully animated.
Yeah.
How did they accomplish such animations? Well, I'll tell you, they had a $45 million budget that led to a $1.5 million opening weekend. And in the U.S. and Canada, the gross was $425 million, so almost 10 times their budget. And worldwide, $979 million.
Damn. Almost a
So
billion.
almost 20 times their budget.
Jeez.
No, over 20 times their budget.
Starring Matthew Broderick, Jeremy Irons, and James Earl Jones.
Yep, and I'll throw in Rowan Atkinson as a star. I
Oh,
think he was in it
yeah,
so much.
for
I
sure.
think he was great as Zazu.
Yeah, he was.
This was directed by Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff. The screenplay, this I thought was worth mentioning. Screenplay was by Irene Mechie, Jonathan Roberts, Linda Wolverton, and that's all I'm going to say because there were 25 other credited writers.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah,
well, didn't it also get, did they credit any of the people from that other like movie that it was?
no, this is all just Lion King people who wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not. There's some controversy over this. If you didn't know about this, you're talking about Kimbo, right?
Yeah.
Kimbo the White Lion was an old like anime, or I think it actually started as like a manga that was a like a comic book in Japan that then became an animated series that people it's Kimbo the White Lion and sounds like Simba. It's about a lion who's like exiled basically. I think his parents are killed and then he goes lives in the jungle. And I think though most of what Kimbo's about, I did some more research into that than I'd heard about this in the past, and I kind of looked into it, and it's basically like the Kimba story seems to be a lot more about him being an adult and actually going back and running the kingdom and stuff like that, and trying to assimilate back into the jungle life, I guess. But it was enough that I think the person who created it didn't really seem to have too much of an issue. I don't think he thought there was any foul play. And the similarities on the surface, I think, were like, oh, wow, that does seem kind of damning. But then when I looked more into it, it did seem like, there's not really much beyond the fact that it's a lion and the name rhymes. And, the word for lion in Swahili is Simba. So I think the fact that it rhymed is just a coincidence there. A
Yeah.
lot of the character names are based on Swahili words, such as Nala means gift, Sarabi means mirage, Rafiki means friend, Pumbaa means simpleton or weak-minded, and Shenzi means uncivilized or savage. She was one of the
Oh, the
hyenas.
hyenas.
Yeah, the hyenas. I think initially those were supposed to be Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, the guys who did Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh.
They were cast to be hyenas. But they did such a good job, and the production crew liked them so much that they instead were chosen to play the more prominent Timon and Pumbaa. And Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech Marin got their old parts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the hyenas went to people who were arguably way more famous at the time. And Nathan Lane was, I don't know how, I know he, through the 90s, he was a very big guy, but I don't know if maybe this was before he kind of caught fire and was in so many things,
Yeah, maybe he was just doing voice stuff like this first. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like from Broadway is like where he got
Oh, okay.
big first, I believe.
It was originally released in Swahili, Zulu, and Hausa. I don't know how to say that other language, but it was released in three African languages.
That's cool. Well, there's a couple of fun, like weird trivia bits about this that have persisted, like the right, like because this happens in a couple different Disney movies, like
Versus
the
sex.
yeah. That have you seen that before? Have you like witnessed it firsthand and paused it and looked at it?
I've seen videos of it.
Yeah, I've watched it on the tape and stuff. And it is like it does. It's certainly the part where he lays down in the grass as like a young adult Simba, and he's like, and kind of when he sits down, a bunch of like dandelions blow away, and they kind of morph together to make letters in the clouds. One of the animators had come forward and said that the letters in the sky are SFX, which stood for, I think it was supposed to be special effects.
Oh,
Which I'm saying, okay, if you were coming out and be like, well, yeah, no, we're saying there are letters. Instead of just being like, no, they just look like letters. It's swirly stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I would think if it was like, it's nothing. It's to be like, oh,
they were
it's
trying.
three
I
letters.
guess.
It's three letters that look the closest that any three letters could look to be SEX. It is those three. It's just not E.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me think it was supposed to say sex, Also, because it's like SFX. That's like, special effects were a new thing. I don't know. It's just like, why would it be special effects? Like, why is that who we're calling out with this one thing we're doing? Because they're the ones who worked on that, I guess. I don't know. Seems a little convenient to my taste. I think it's. And we also know that stuff did happen in other Disney movies. Like in The Rescuers, there's like a little naked lady in a window behind them.
Yeah. Or did you see the front cover of The Little Mermaid? The
Yeah.
VHS has like a dick on it.
Yeah, it's got a little dildo on one of the towers. And then also in that movie, there's the scene, which I've seen that too, where the one of the priest or the priest at the end when he's marrying Ursula and Eric,
Has a
and it is
boner.
yeah, it's like his the middle of his little robe lifts up, and it's like oh the angle, it's his knee that's popping out, and I guess so, but it's also like if you're animating this stuff by hand, you got to be like I'm right next to this guy's crotch, and I'm not thinking about that, you know. They did win the Golden Globe for best motion picture, comedy, or musical, not like a specific animated category. They just won for the best comedy or motion picture or musical.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then another big award thing for him. They won the best original score Oscar. And Hans Zimmer, though, initially was hesitant to do the movie. He wasn't sure if he wanted to be a part of it. Ended up getting him an Oscar, so it ended up being a good choice for him, I'd say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another Oscar win went to Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which was actually left out of the original cut. Can you believe that? Yeah, Elton John convinced Jeffrey Katzenberg to put it back in, and it won them an Oscar. It's like, yeah, good thing you listened to Elton John, man. Like, that's a
Right.
weird person to be like, yeah, we're gonna cut that out.
It's a weird
Especially
person to be
back
like,
then.
I don't think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and at the time, like, yeah, you think of though prior Disney movies, it's not like they had huge pop stars doing songs in them. You know, this kind of was a beginning of that sort of phenomenon, I guess. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think really that there was anything before this that I can remember specifically being a movie that had a pop star in it, because it wasn't like Little Mermaid or Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast would have, and those were all the kind of Renaissance era things. Like then after this, it became very important for them to cast somebody or have like even Mulan has like
Tarzan.
Christina Aguilera, yeah, Tarzan, like yeah, Phil Collins with Tarzan. Like there was a lot of that immediately after this movie, but beforehand there wasn't too much of it. So
Yeah, you're
and,
right.
and I guess it being a love song and everything. Yeah, I guess I can see why they would be a little bit hesitant to it, and it worked out for them that they didn't leave it out. Another big thing that I thought was cool about this was the wildebeest stampede that ends up, spoiler alert, killing Mufasa. It took 3 years to make that. Maybe that's why they shouted out the special effects team, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
seriously. All
hear it
the
up for the wildebeest earlier.
all the individual wildebeest that they had to like draw, and that's crazy.
So they had to make a new computer program because what they did is they just copied them, I believe, and replicated them over and over again. And because it was from the computer graphics department. And they had to make a new program that allowed hundreds of animals to run at the same time without bumping into each other.
Dang.
Or, just all shooting off all over the place, I guess.
Yeah, or like combining.
Yeah. So like, I think they drew them individually and then replicated them and then had to write this thing that allowed them to move like that. So it's a scene that's so quick, and nowadays you don't even think about something like that. But it's another one of those things that watching it in the movie theater was probably, I don't know that specifically, but I just can imagine sitting there watching a wall of thousands of these creatures running towards you, and Simba turns around all.
It's so crazy when they run down the wall.
Yeah.
That's like, do they do that? Is that physically possible, or is it just an animation?
I think it's just, I don't know. It's a really steep incline to get in there, but it does look like they're coming straight down. I think it's just supposed to be the angle that they're coming at looks like that. But it does look, I think as a kid, I always thought it looked like they are just
Like
going
a
straight
waterfall of
down.
wildebeest.
This was supposedly, according to something I read, it was worked on by Disney's B team.
Interesting.
Like while their A team was out working on Pocahontas. So that was the movie they were putting that was the basket they were putting their eggs into. And so yeah, they were just like, all right, well, let's get the other guys working on that stupid lion movie based on Hamlet or whatever. Is that what it is, Hamlet? Or
Yeah.
yeah. I thought that was really interesting. Like, yeah, people like Pocahontas, but Lion King is the one that's considered an all-time classic.
Well, it's just so much more like emotionally charged. It still hits when I see Mufasa die.
I guess it's funny too if you think about and when you think of old Disney movies, I don't know, directly being based on like a legend, as opposed to this, which is just sort of like inspired by stuff and kind of an original tale, as opposed to them recreating an old legend like Cinderella or The Little Mermaid or whatever else.
Or even
They
Pocahontas.
probably, that's probably why when they thought, okay, Pocahontas is our big thing, that's what we're gonna do. That's gonna be this big serious movie. And the silly one about lions who sing about wanting to be the king and stuff like that, that'll be the one we make for little kids.
Yeah, lions eating bugs. Who's gonna watch that?
Yeah. Man, though, this is one that I've seen so many times as a kid. I love the thing with them slurping up the bugs. I always thought it looked so good when he's like, slimy yet satisfying, and slurps
Yeah,
up the big fat one. I thought that like those looked really delicious.
they do
Made
make
me
them
want,
look appetizing.
yeah, they made me want to eat bugs. Man, they don't. I never have eaten. I've never just like picked. Have you ever eaten any kind of bugs? Like
Crickets.
I've eaten like crickets that were prepared to be eaten.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever just eaten a bug. Not on
And other
purpose,
than
at
that,
least.
yeah, I know, right? I've never eaten like scorpion or tarantula or anything else. I don't think that I can remember.
I've eaten like scorpion like inside of a sucker.
Yeah, I think I had one for years, and I was always like, oh, I'm just keeping it because it looks cool, and I kept it on like my, I had a bunch of trinkets when I was a kid. I just got a bunch of random stuff on a shelf, like little weird action figures, and I remember I had like a rabbit pelt and like a trick thing of gum that when you grabbed it would snap your fingers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
there was a there was a sucker with a scorpion in it up there, and so I put it up there because it was like, oh, it's got to look cool with all my other cool stuff. But really, it was because I was afraid to eat it, so I never ate it. I got it from some relatives from Mexico or something like that, but I was too afraid of it. Here's one last little fun piece of trivia I have about this that I thought was pretty cool and worth noting: that Frank Welker did all of the lion's roars in the movie. They wanted the roars to sound specifically. I think maybe once or twice there's, something that they add some effects to, but it's all just this dude doing the voice of it, actually just like making the noises with his mouth
That's so
for
cool.
most of it. And I mean, Frank Welker is a legend in the voiceover and animation community and everything. He's like the original voice of Fred from Scooby Doo, and he plays like Nibbler on Futurama. And,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and he's in basically any cartoon ever. You know what I mean? Like he's always showing up. But the real interesting thing about his career is the animal noises that he does. Or like I'm pretty sure he played a Boo in Aladdin. And when you think about the fact that somebody has to go into the booth and go like, like you just don't consider, yeah, you don't consider it. But when you actually think about it, you're like, yeah, that is just somebody's voice. I guess it just, and especially him, he's so good at it, it just flows past you. You're not considering like, oh, I hate the way that guy who's doing the voice of the monkey sounds. Like
Yeah.
until I really watched him doing these voices and stuff like that, you can find him on videos of just him doing weird characters like that are very interesting. That like there'll be some cartoon that you watched as a kid, and one of the sidekick characters is him just squeaking around in the booth, and you watch him doing it, you're like, yeah, I guess my whole life I just never considered where that noise was happening. They're just like squeezing something plastic into the microphone or something, like, and that's why he's really good at his job. But yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. That's a Frank Welker roar right there.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a pretty talented guy. Another one that's sort of a thing that I had never noticed, and when I heard it, I couldn't unhear it, was another legend in the voiceover game is Jim Cummings. He plays many voices. One of his marquee ones is like Pete from Goofy movie and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And and he plays Cat in Cat Dog and Winnie the Pooh, and then he eventually started playing Tigger too. So he's also like kind of the voices of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger from our childhood are done by him. So he's really good at just doing any kind of voice and stuff like that. In the song "Be Prepared," Jeremy Irons couldn't hit a lot of the high notes, so Jim Cummings came in and did like the big "Be Prepared" at the end of it. That's actually Jim Cummings, and you can hear it when you're aware of it. You can hear the voice switch, and it's like, oh, that is Jim Cummings, and he's got a very recognizable voice.
I'll have to
So,
listen to it, or
yeah, once I
listen for it next time.
Yeah, once I heard that, I was like, oh, you can totally hear when it cuts out to Jim. Good job, Jim. Really cool guy too. He calls hospitals as Winnie the Pooh to talk to the kids and stuff like that. Yeah, he's seems like a very cool guy. I've listened to a little bit of his podcast. Come on, Jim, get on our podcast. We'll talk a little bit about any year because I'm sure you had a role that year. So come on and we'll talk about whenever you want to. That's an official invitation. I'm gonna mark that.
Okay.
Official invitation for Jim Cummings. Unless I get embarrassed and want to cut it out later. That's all right. Well, that's mostly all I have to say about the movie itself. But its impact at the time and everything. There were video games. I think I did have a game on the Pico that was Lion King. Now I remember that specifically. I remember a level where you could go back and forth and catch bugs as they were falling down, in one of those classic
Yeah.
you just move the character on the bottom. So This was all over the place. The soundtrack was super popular, obviously, and this was one that I grew up. I think really all the Disney movies that came out back then, I grew up watching all the time. You know, and this was one of them.
Out of 1994 grubs, how many grubs do you give this movie?
I like that one. Well, this movie is very slimy yet satisfying. So I do have to go ahead and say this one. I'm going to give 1,700 stars. It's a very
Wow.
high grade. Yeah, I think it's a great movie. I think even now it's not necessarily one that I'm watching going like, this is my favorite movie or whatever. But it was one of my favorites as a kid, and watching it as an adult, you're like, man, they really did a great job. The animation's beautiful. The songs are great.
I'll give it 1,600 grubs. I really
Did I say
like
stars?
this-
I think.
Yeah, I really like this movie. I think that's your highest grub rating yet.
I think so, actually. Yeah, I haven't had any that I think I've really loved. I really do think like my actual rating of this has got to be like a 9, man. Like I think if I was doing a normal, that's why I have to, we have to translate them over to whatever the year is. But I genuinely think this is a super great movie as a product of a movie making team.
Yeah.
Everybody did a good job. The voices are all great. They're all iconic voices. They're people who were culturally relevant without being too stunt casty. I think that's something that is also really not that popular when you look at the movies before this. There weren't a ton of big name stars in the old Disney movies.
Hmm.
There isn't a whole bunch. I mean, every once in a while you'd get a couple of cool castings, like what's his name, Buddy Hackett plays the pelican or whatever the fuck, the seabird of any sort. What is his name in The Little Mermaid? Scuttle.
Oh yeah.
Like they would cast like, oh, that's a cool like old time comic or somebody like that would show up in something, but or Scatman Crothers or whatever. There'd just be like random people they cast and stuff. But this was one that it was like, okay, Rowan Atkinson. People knew Mr. Bean at the time was a popular character, like Nathan Lane and Whoopi Goldberg, Cheech Marin.
Just like people's voices that were iconic already. Like you didn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
have to know.
Without being too distracting, where nowadays you're just like, is that John Cena? Like, why does it have to be John Cena? It's not like he has a voice that's great. It's not like you can't just have
Yeah.
some other dude who's better at that than this,
Yeah.
But, you get Cheech Marin and you hear it right away, you're like, oh, it's funny that Cheech Marin is the hyena. And he's in and out, and you're not all, the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's just, I just think it's a great, culturally important, cool movie. I loved it, but there's other movies that come out.
Yeah, let's talk about some other movies that came out this year. Forrest Gump, probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, for sure.
The Santa Claus,
Oh, yeah.
Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yeah, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. That's crazy. What a big year for Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that was.
I watched The Mask the other day. I rewatched that for.
I love all
For
those movies
refresher.
are good.
I don't know. I gotta watch Dumb and Dumber. I know I've seen it. I've seen all the pieces of it at this point in my life, but I just don't know if I've seen it all front to back at this point. But The Mask was really fun to rewatch. I actually liked it a lot more than I had ever watching it before. I think it's the weird alt comic nature of it, that it's like a comic book character. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's based on a comic, and yeah, just knowing like the breed of it a little more. It's very similar to The Tick.
Yeah, for sure.
There were a bunch of Christmas movies this year. It was a good year for Christmas. There was Santa Claus. There was also The Ref, which is a good one, where it's like a black comedy sort of thing, where Dennis Leary's a thief who breaks into a house on Christmas time. Miracle on 34th Street, the remake from the 90s, is really good. It's kind of cheesy, but it's good. Mixed Nuts is also a Steve Martin Christmas comedy. So a lot of those. There were some action movies, sort of Pulp Fiction, Natural Born Killers. I think those are both have Quentin Tarantino fingerprints on them. Tarantino directed Pulp Fiction and wrote Natural Born Killers.
Hmm.
So he was having a big year. A couple comedies that were pretty good: Clerks, Airheads, Reality Bites, Four Weddings and a Funeral. I really love Clerks.
The Mighty Ducks 2. I love
Yeah,
that movie.
there was D2. There was also Little Giants and Angels in the Outfield. So a big year for little kids sports movies were popular. Three big ones.
Iron Will was on that. Did you ever see that movie? The dog sled movie?
Oh, I've heard of it. I guess I'm like aware of its existence. I've never seen it though.
I watched it a bunch as a kid. I had the
Yeah.
VHS. Yeah. The Crow.
Oh, The Crow. Yeah, I love The Crow. That's they're also like in the same sort of vein was like Street Fighter. I felt like that was kind of similar because The Crow was like a comic book. Street Fighter was a video game. Speed and Leon the Professional were some action movies that I thought were both well recognized moving forward. And a couple of kind of off-brand cartoons that were pop. They were like things that were not Disney back then that were more popular. Now it's just DreamWorks or Disney for the most part, you know. But there was these. I remember having these VHSs in my house and watching them a lot. Were The Princess and the Goblin, Thumbelina, A Troll in Central Park, The Swan Princess, and The Page Master.
Those are all really good movies.
Yeah, I think those
If
are.
you've
They're
never
not really
seen them-
well known now, right?
Yeah, if you've never seen those movies, you have to go back and watch some of those because they had really good off the wall animated cartoons, like you said, that were not Pixar, were not Disney, and were not DreamWorks at the time.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of these were like Don Bluth was a part of it, who had worked at Disney and then left to go do his own thing at a certain point because he didn't like the way that they were treating him there, or he just wanted to do his own thing. He just wanted a different creative control, I think, is kind of what it was. And I think his company had a lot to do with a lot of these. But I really loved Troll in Central Park a lot when I was a kid. That was one that was a big one for us. And then The Page Master. It's a really interesting movie. It's like sort of a blend of live action and I guess it's a lot like the Never Ending Story, right? It's like the kid is sucked into the book, I think, and then it's all animated from there instead of just being a fantasy world. And he hangs out with other little books that are like personifications of the type of stories they are. But it's a really good one. Really, we were kids at the time, and this was a really good year for kids movies and stuff, I think, and all the cartoons and things that were out. Oh, the Flintstones movie. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. Still, I love watching it. I think that's one
Yeah.
that watching it as an adult, it's like, oh, it's a choice. You know, I could see why audiences didn't like it. It's weird, and I love weird movies, so it really fits for me. But I think as the choice for the Flintstones movie, it was weird. But it sort of reminds me, like Scooby Doo was the same sort of thing too. Like they used to make movies that were like kind of like for the crowd who grew up with them. Like Flintstones was a kids cartoon, and now it's sort of like there's some sex jokes in there with Halle Berry, and like the references are for adult. Like the B-52s are in it for some reason. Like there's a lot of things that are more for adults than for kids,
but it's still a kids movie.
Yeah, and like I said, Scooby Doo is very similar to that. Like there's a lot of weed jokes and stuff, and that was a little later. But I think it's really interesting that they decided to go that route with it, and I can get why audiences didn't love it, but I really, really loved it. So that's one of my favorites from the year. Favorite movies, anyway.
The Shawshank Redemption and Time Cop both came out.
I had Shawshank in my list here. It's right next to Schindler's List. I think that those two were pretty huge, culturally important ones that, I love Shawshank Redemption. I've never seen Schindler's List.
Schindler's List is sad and long.
Yeah, I think that's why I've never dived into it. I should at this point, but the Shawshank Redemption is really good. That's a long movie, but it's not quite as sad.
No, it ends a happy ending. As far as I remember, I haven't seen it in a long time. There's so many like popular movies that still hold up to this day.
Interview with the Vampire and In the Mouth of Madness I had written down under horror movies that I got here. Hoop Dreams and Above the Rim, both a couple of good basketball movies. Jason's Lyric, go watch that movie. If you like to cry, that's a sad one.
Richie Rich, if you don't like to cry.
Well, I think that's it for all these movies. We gotta stop looking into memory lane, but really go check out, any of the ones that we mentioned. Seriously, they're all worth a watch. And I think this year's fun because if you watch any of these movies, it's a good peek into what life was like back then at the movies. Like, this is what people were watching. Has such a specific feel to it as compared to a couple years later or a couple years earlier. Like, there's a 1994 feel to the movies that I really love. I mean, obviously, this was stuff that I had on VHS when I was a kid. That was always around the house. So I watched so many of these movies a million times.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and say goodbye to the year 1994 and start closing this thing off. We need to pick something we're going to call attention to hold and to keep around because everything else vanishes. But we pick something we want that we think is the most important to us And to you out there, ultimately, because we're making the choice for you. You don't get to choose what you're taking with you. Everything else disappears, and all of your memories about all your favorite, oh, you love that song? Too bad. We didn't love that song, so it's not existing anymore. What are you going to save, Mark?
I know it's kind of lame, but I'm gonna choose The Lion King.
Yeah, I think that's
Really,
a fine choice.
I like you said, iconic for us when we were kids. Resonates pretty hard even watching it today. So I'm gonna keep that one around.
I think it's a good one to keep. I think it's a wise choice. I think culturally, things can stay largely the same today if we still have The Lion King because it influenced so much. And for me, I'm going to save the Sega Pico. Everybody go out there and get yourself a Sega Pico, the entertainment system made for little kids that didn't last very long and there's not a lot of games for, but
You'll love it. We'll guarantee.
yeah. No more Sony PlayStation, but the Sega Pico lives on. I wonder if I could find one of those. I'm gonna do some digging online, see but I'll have to come back to the present day to do that because they don't have the internet back in 1994. But we're gonna have to live our lives in the current day for a little bit until we figure out what year we're gonna jump back into next time. But 1994 is in the rear view now. It's over with. How do you feel about that?
Sad day.
Yeah, I know.
But I am willing, ready, and able to go on to our next year, and we don't even know what that is yet. Time will soon enough to tell us.
Until we get to it, I guess I know when I think of 1994, I'm gonna look back and say, "Oh, you know what? I know me and Mark both wish we were then." No, we normally say that at the same time. This is our first time doing it remote. We already said that. Give us some grace, please. Bye.